It's been a good year for research into the Hardy family history. We've got a website up and running now, and we've completed quite a large exercise in copying all the family photographs. That's courtesy Trish, Eileen and Mark and Mandy, and next we've got to do something with them. We really need to go delving into who people are on the old photos. It isn't that easy. But there's been some gems amongst them. My favourite is David in his short trousers, aged about 13 or something, sitting outside the house in Morris there. But he hasn't changed a bit, I must say. Only his trousers are longer. I don't know, does everybody know everybody? Our best friend Sue here is helping out today, and she was going to sort of make up the seats and what have you, help me with the camera, etc. As it turns out, everybody, loads more could have come. We've got a big bus. Anyway, one of the things that has come out of our research into the Hardy family very recently is we've made touch with people in Canada who are related to John Thomas Hardy. Now, in your packs, you've got a Hardy Day booklet. No, that's not a guide to the day. It's some background information. It's some tales about the family, and on the back of it, on the back of it is a family tree, and we did that based on who originally booked to come on the trip. So not everybody's going to be on it, but you should be able to judge your place from somebody very close to you on it. And John Thomas Hardy was somebody we didn't really know a great deal about. It turns out he went to Canada with his children who were born locally around here, Didsbury, which is just down the road there, and Withington area, and off he went to Canada. We really don't know anything, we didn't even know that. And very recently Mark came across the family, his descendants, over on Vancouver side on the west coast of Canada, and they were a family who knew they came from England. They knew a little bit about their father, precious little about their grandfather, and they just thought they were, fairly rootless. They came from England somewhere, and absolutely delighted when Mark made contact, and sort of picked up from Mark's initial contact, and we well, it's only happened in the last few weeks, and of course with today going to happen, they were absolutely over the moon, but rather sick that they didn't have the opportunity of making arrangements to join us, because a lot of what we're going to be looking at is their family history as well. And on the back of making contact with the Hardy family in Vancouver, they had a long lost cousin, and this cousin they thought went to Australia. Well, through a missing persons link on the net, we actually found their cousin Christina in New Zealand, and she's been in contact as well. So there's been lots of family reunions going on, and at some stage I think we're going to get inundated by relations from Canada and possibly New Zealand. So from Canada we've got greetings today from Barbara, her husband Ed, and her daughter Denise, and apologies when I have lapses in memory, age thing and all that. And she wrote a few lines which, given the fact that we're waiting for Mark, but not for much longer, she said when Barbara's dad came to Canada, he worked in a bank and he met her mother Grace, and they lived in Vancouver. And it's a bit of a rum devil, this, and this Vincent Hardy, and he took up a position with a fish cannery company, and this took them to some pretty remote island at Alert Bay. God knows where that is. It's pretty remote, I think. And around 1944, after a few years working out in the middle of nowhere, they came back to Vancouver and resumed a fairly normal life. But that wasn't for Vin, and no sooner they settled back to a comfortable life in Vancouver, he's reading the paper and said, oh, there's a general store and post office butcher's place for sale in Tofino. And his wife said, where the hell's Tofino? And they looked on the map, but it's about 3 days ferry journey from where they were. No electric, no running water, chemical toilets, the local Indians are there and whatever. And his wife said, oh yeah, stick that one, mate. And so next thing is, and it's the same as he did when they took up the position in the fish cannery. Oh dear, I think you have to get packed next week. I bought that shop up in Tofino, and so off they went, and to the middle of nowhere with the local Indians and whatever, and they sold pelts to the Hudson Bay Company, and he got on quite well with the local Indians, but eventually Mum just had enough, and his wife had had enough, and they wanted to get back to Vancouver. And at the age of 12, the daughter Denise was sent off to, this is Barbara talking about her parents. Barbara was sent off to boarding school, and her parents basically split up. Her dad remained in the remote place with the Indians, and the wife came back to Vancouver. And that was it really, until Barbara was on holiday at Christmas, and she came back and Dad had had a heart attack, and Mum came eventually. She did come back to him. He came home, they got back together just for a short time, but he'd lived a rare old life. He liked his whiskey, and he liked his fried sandwiches and whatever, and he had an angina anyway. It was in Christmas 1955, and he died. And he said, Dad, writing about a father, he's about 5'11", blue eyes, fair complexion. She says he was a bit of a character, and always bragged about the family Roman nose and the strong chin. And he used to go around whistling, humming tunes, and one of his favourites was They'll Always Be in England. And he liked Gilbert and Sullivan. He used to sing Gilbert and Sullivan songs, and he wasn't a very good driver. And when they were up in the boondocks, their house and the store was on the edge of the waterfront there, and more than once he sort of backed over the edge of the embankment. Anyway, they had an Air Force base next to where they were, and Barbara would look the next day and see the van, and there'd be branches sprouting out, indicating it had been through the butchers or in a ditch. Anyway, she'd take revenge on her father and dump all his whiskey down the drain. Above all, she says, he loved his Catholic faith and boasted that you can attend a church anywhere in the world, and wherever you went it'd always be the same. And of course that's harking back to the days of the Latin liturgy. They didn't have a Catholic church in Tofino, where they were living out in the middle of nowhere, and what they did is whenever they got a visiting priest come along, they used to hold the mass in houses and take it in turns. And on one occasion though, just showing how people were in those days, she came home from school one day and said, somebody's called me a bloody Catholic. What's that mean? So I mean, people weren't so used to getting on with each other in those days. So Barbara says, I thought one day I'd get back to Manchester and maybe visit some graveyards and perhaps find my grandparents' burial site. Now I have so much more. I'll take some time to digest all of this. I hope to modernise my kitchen, but I think the money's going to come in handy for visiting all of us. Love and hugs, Barbara. So that's Barbara and her daughter Denise in Vancouver, and Christina in New Zealand. So we've got a whole load of relations that we didn't even know about there. No, Mark, yeah, what do we do? Decision time, how much time?
It's 10:15.
5 minutes.
5 minutes,
okay.
All right, oh good.
So as you all know, the original thought for today was that we're going to start in Hardy Lane, Chiltern cum Hardy, on the Hardy Day family history. The reason we had to divert to Nell Lane is the Metrolink works, for the extension of Metrolink, block off Hardy Lane completely. So apologies for the diversion to Now Lane. But this is where we're going to finish the adventure today, back at the Sun Cemetery, where so many of the family are buried. And during the course of the day, we're going to look at things through time and space, I suppose you'd say. Not having Doctor Who's TARDIS, we can't bob back in time, of course, and because of geography and the layers through time, we're going to be out of context on the timeline sometimes. In fact, really going to start perhaps near the end of our voyage in a way, with the houses that the family occupied around Chorlton-cum-Hardy, because that's where we are now. And we're going to go back in time gradually through the places they had in the Hume sort of Moss Side area when they first sort of got away from Salford, and we're going to take a look at a few other things associated with the family. Then we're going to make our way back into Salford, which at the moment is about as far back as we know about the Hardy family, which we're all associated. So it's Darren's the driver today. He comes from the Salford area, or knows that area. Sorry. Which part are we visiting? It's not far from it's right on the river, on the Irwell, and it's not that far really. But if you knew Chapel Street and the cathedral and what have you, it's about a quarter of a mile behind that, heading north. So it's a big loop on the River Irwell. We're going to cross, when we leave Deansgate area in Manchester, we cross over the Irwell, and then we're going short distance, and we're going to start looking at some of the roads associated with the family, and then we get to a bridge crossing the Irwell again. So it's quite a dramatic loop on the river, because I sort of had to double check. It's the same river, isn't it? You know, yes, it's the same river. Yeah, it does meander, and I think that's describes. We're going to meander today. Mark's meandering to meet us.
That's a good one, I think.
What I have got here today is carefully laminated copies of the pictures, of which you've got photocopies in your folders, and these are some of the ones that are going to be, you know, prompts when we land at our various points to discuss and show us better. These are all from the records at the Manchester Library, and nicely laminated in case of the heavy rain that we expected, you know, because we know it rains all the time in Manchester. That's the reason. But you know, they'll stand up to a bit of pouring around, and we try and share these. There's copies of those in your folder. Maps, the sort of old black and white ones, are from the 19th century, and one of the problems we face in Salford is that since the times of the Hardys there, the whole place has been redeveloped. It was redeveloped in the 19th century. It was redeveloped in the early 20th century. It's been redeveloped again. Some of those areas have been redeveloped 3 times. So it was really hard trying to figure out, you know, where were the roads associated with the family. But we've been pretty lucky actually on that, and we've made a few discoveries, so some good news there.
Oh yeah.
And some other good news, because Mark has arrived.
And the bloke who was blocking the exit is
Has
now
moved.
gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, it's all coming together.
So we'll start with our first bit. Mark knows more or less what's
Yeah.
what.
Oh no.
So just let him get on and then we'll go.